What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, the two new upcoming stimulus and infrastructure packages, as well as what is going on in the world today. The US has finally fallen below 30,000 new positive COVID cases, or 30,000 people testing positive per day. They've finally fallen below that for the first time since last summer. However, health experts are worried about all the variations that are basically running rampant across the rest of the world right now. As you can see here in this graph of US cases, we are below 30,000 new positive cases per day right now, as well as deaths are pretty low too, around 700 per day from the virus. However, when we look worldwide, deaths are near an all-time high with about 13,000 per day, which is just about at the highest it's ever been for COVID-19, as well as cases are just around near an all-time high as well, with around 700,000 new cases per day across the world. Again, this is near an all-time high. The US is nearing a low, but experts are concerned about the variations that are now causing this havoc across the rest of the world. The US is nearing 600,000 people in total that have died from COVID-19 and 33 million positive people that have tested positive for the virus. This does not count people that may have passed away at home or have gotten the virus at home and did not test positive for a test inside a hospital. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think that this could get worse as we get into the fall and the colder weather this year? Or do you think that we're on our way out and hopefully it will be a distant past? How long do you think this will stick around? Yeah. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Now, what's certain is that there's two different sides to what's going on with America right now. There's the virus, and then there's also the economic conditions, the recession or the depression. And back in 2008, 2009, when we had the last recession, it took us over 4 years for unemployment to get back to normal. And that was without a virus. So that was with no virus at all. So even if the virus went away tomorrow, we're likely going to continue to see the economic conditions be bad for months or even years. As the last retail sales report from April and the last jobs report we had was absolutely terrible. Literally terrible. The April retail sales report was flat, even though stimulus money was still going out. And they say if there wasn't a stimulus check passed in March and still going out in April, that retail sales for April would have actually been down, which means that we're not recovering. Things aren't getting better sales wise and jobs wise. The entire United States was expected to have over 1 million new jobs created for April. Instead, only 266,000 jobs were created for the entire month for the entire country. When you couple this with there is still around 500,000 new people every single week filing for unemployment for the first time, brand new unemployment people, around 500,000 people every single week. Like really just kind of shows you that the economic recession and the economic conditions are going to be bad for a while. And this is just fuel for the fire for Democrats that want a fourth stimulus check and about 15 different stimulus items to be included in this next stimulus package known as the American Families Plan, and the next physical infrastructure plan known as the American Jobs Plan that they're negotiating on right now, but there's some tension in the water. In fact, President Biden yesterday had a counter offer to the Republicans for the physical infrastructure package known as the American Jobs Plan, which would help out our economy and unemployment tremendously and would create millions of jobs. The Democrats and President Biden came down over $500 billion or $500 billion and have reduced their infrastructure package now to $1.7 trillion, which was swiftly rejected by the Republicans. Now, Democrats are saying that we should just press on and we should pass this through the reconciliation process, which is the process where they can pass stimulus packages and bills and other type of packages without the Republican support at all. However, some Democrats, including a lot of Democratic leaders, think that they should press on and pass these new stimulus packages and the next physical infrastructure package without Republican support and pass it through the reconciliation process. Here is Representative Pramila Jayapal, who is the co-author of the $1,000 per month stimulus payments, the bill that has been introduced into the U.S. House of Representatives, along with a $2,000 one-time stimulus check, and then $1,000 monthly recurring payments that would go until 1 year after the pandemic is over. She's the co-author along with Representative Rashida Tlaib, and Representative Jayapal is the leader of the progressive movement, the Progressive Caucus in the U.S. House of Representatives, which has about 100 different members.
Joining us now is Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of the great state of Washington. She's the chair of the Progressive Caucus. She's therefore a key player representing a big chunk of Democrats in Congress when it comes to Democrats figuring out what they are ready to do. Representative Jayapal, it's a real pleasure to have you here. Thanks for making time.
Always great to be with you, Rachel. And as I was listening to you, I was thinking, this is like waiting for Godot, waiting for the Republicans to magically show up is something that we just don't think is going to happen. But obviously, we needed to give the president a little bit of room. I think that room has now been closed. That door has now been closed. We have clarity, as you said. And now we go back to doing what the country actually wants. So even if Republicans in Congress don't want a big infrastructure, jobs and families plan, you were talking about the jobs plan. There's also the families plan, which the Biden administration has proposed, the president has proposed. And we're saying, let's put those two together. Let's pass it through reconciliation and let's do what is incredibly popular across the country.
Let me just ask you about what's going on internally among Democrats right now, because as I just explained, and as you seem to agree, the Republicans have kind of taken themselves off the table here, which is clarifying in terms of, what needs to happen now in order to get this done. But I am acutely aware that Democrats in Congress come in all sorts of, stripes and flavors. Are there really significant differences that remain among Democrats about what to do here? Are there choke points that still really need to be figured out? Or are things at a place right now where Democrats are essentially ready to go and ready to pull in the same direction?
Every Democrat that I talk to in the House, for sure, is really on board with getting a big investment, a once-in-a-generation investment done in all of these different pieces: roads, bridges, transit, broadband, taking on climate, really addressing the issues around childcare, especially when we've seen women being pushed out of the workforce. That is a huge piece. Free community college, which is also part of the Biden administration plan. And then we have been building the chorus even for additional healthcare pieces like lowering the Medicare eligibility age and lowering the cost of prescription drugs. And so there is a lot of agreement across the Democratic caucus. Now, are there going to be places where we're going to have to negotiate? Yes, there will be. And I think that for some in the Senate, some Democrats in the Senate, there needed to be an effort to at least see if Republicans were going to come along. It's not really what we felt was necessary in the Progressive Caucus, but we understood that there needed to be a little bit of room. However, Rachel, we have to learn the lessons from the last time around during the Obama administration, where we tried to work with Republicans and we narrowed down everything we wanted to do and we didn't make the kind of investment we needed to make. And at the end of the day, the Republicans didn't vote for it. That is the same party we're dealing with, except even worse, because you look at the rescue plan, it was so popular and the Republicans voted no and took the dough because they went back to their districts and people were like, oh, this is really great. I got money in my pocket. I got a shot in my arm. My kids are going back to school. I got my child tax credit. And all of a sudden, Republicans were like, oh, I can't tell my constituents I voted no on this. So they started claiming credit for it. And so I think it's really important to distinguish between what Republicans across the country want and what Republicans in Congress are willing to do.
She brings up an interesting point there, is that not a single Republican voted yes on the third stimulus check package from the House or the Senate. The Democrats passed that completely on their own. And yet I seen a recent poll that we covered here on the show about a day or two ago that up to 50% of rural Americans, so not in big cities, but in rural areas, did not even know that the Republicans, not a single one of them, voted yes on this package. And in fact, I think it was like 35% of them actually gave credit to the Republicans for the third stimulus check. So yeah, it's very interesting. Not that I'm picking sides; it's just really just kind of the facts. And remember, we had 5 different packages passed underneath the Republicans in control, former President Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell as Senate Majority Leader. And as most recent as in December, which was literally a month before President Biden came into office in January. But now all of a sudden, when Biden has come into office, now even just a month or two later, when the Democrats first came into power in the Senate and in the presidency, the Republicans didn't want to vote for anything, and we saw that with the third stimulus check package, which was only a few months after President Trump's last stimulus package and stimulus check, and yet the Republicans really don't want to vote for anything underneath Democratic leadership. So, alas, I personally think that there's maybe at best a 50-50 chance that the physical infrastructure package, the American Jobs Plan, which is supposed to create millions of jobs, help us get out of this recession, and also help us with infrastructure and really a lot more than just like roads and bridges. There's airports, broadband, all sorts of fixing water pipes, sewer pipes all across the country, creating millions of jobs, as well as senior care and housing, all sorts of different things in there that actually some of it could benefit a lot of regular everyday Americans, like that housing and senior care and different budgets like that. And I think that there's probably a 95% chance that Republicans will not go along with the next stimulus package, the American Families Plan, which is considered the part two to this two-tier package. Part one's the physical infrastructure package, the American Jobs Plan. Part two is the next stimulus package, the American Families Plan. Another big fight right now and another big push going on right now is to raise the minimum wage. Democratic Senator Bernie Sanders says, quote, I hear my Republican colleagues going on about a labor shortage in this country. Well, in Pennsylvania and elsewhere, some employers have raised wages. And you know what? People came back to work in a hurry. And we are seeing this across the country. Bank of America has just actually raised their own minimum wage that they hire people starting at for their company to $25 an hour by 2025. And they actually said that this is actually following research that promoting a higher minimum wage is better for their company and the country. They now guarantee a $20 minimum wage and will step that up in the coming years to $25 per hour as the absolute minimum they will pay. They have now joined the ranks of other large corporations that pay employees above the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, including Amazon, Costco, and Target. Some states have legislations that lift their individual minimum wage past the federal minimum. States and jurisdictions with a $15 per hour minimum wage include California, Connecticut, Florida, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Virginia, and the District of Columbia. Now, some of those states, they go into effect in the future. So basically, as same thing with Bank of America, they're basically going up by a couple dollars per year until they get to $15 an hour. And we're honestly seeing this happen across the country. Even though they weren't able to raise the minimum wage in the last stimulus package, they're still pushing to do that. And we actually have a bipartisan bill proposal from led by Republican Senator Mitt Romney and also Democratic Senator Kirsten Sinema to boost the minimum wage to around $11 an hour, which would be a 50% increase from the states that are still at $7.25 per hour, which is about 40% of all states in the United States. McDonald's actually had a recent worker strike across different areas of the country in what they call the fight for $15 an hour, as you can see on this flag here and this picture. McDonald's workers are striking for a $15 an hour minimum wage at McDonald's. We've also just seen this increased by Chipotle, $15 an hour minimum wage, where they implemented that in their company. However, they did say they would need to raise the prices of their sandwiches or their burritos that they sell because they're going to have to pay higher labor. So it does kind of make sense that if you have to raise minimum wage, say McDonald's, if you have to raise minimum wage by several dollars per hour, it only makes sense that they're going to have to raise the prices of their food. And that is what we're seeing happen right now in the kind of battle of inflation versus minimum wage versus more stimulus versus having the economy recover slower. And the Democrats are going to pass this next stimulus package and the next infrastructure package with or without the Republicans. And it's probably looking more and more like they're going to have to pass it without Republicans, which means they can put anything they want in this next stimulus package, the American Families Plan, including the fourth stimulus check that we have almost 100, between 80 and 100 different Democrat lawmakers that have come out and physically spoken out saying we want a fourth stimulus check and we actually want it to be monthly recurring stimulus checks so that we can get the economy back on track and we don't need to continue to pass these checks one by one by one. The Democrats also only have about a year and a half until the next election. If they lose even a single seat in the Senate or even just a couple seats in the House of Representatives, they will not have total control over Congress anymore. And they will need to do everything on their agenda within the next year and a half. They also have several different proposals to raise Social Security. We have three different proposals from the Democrats. Number one, to increase Social Security benefits by $200 per month for all Social Security beneficiaries. This is actually by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, and Ron Wyden. The plan to provide more than 60 million Americans with an additional $4,000 over 2 years is part of the Senate Democrats' bold Phase 3 stimulus proposal. We also have President Biden's plan himself, where he wants to raise all Social Security beneficiaries to 125% of the poverty level, which would be $1,341 per month would be the minimum for Social Security. In addition to all this, they want to include Medicare increase in coverage for hearing, dental, vision, hearing aids, and lower the Medicare eligibility age to age 60 or age 55. So there's a lot the Democrats want to do. Well, actually, in addition to student loan forgiveness, 2 years of free college that President Biden himself actually wants 4 years of free college, but they may have to include 2 years as a starting point in this next stimulus package. Yeah, that's right. Free college is probably going to become a thing in this next stimulus package. I know it's crazy to even think about. It will be a major change for our country, but that's probably going to happen, as well as 2 years of free preschool and extending the child tax credits, which are the monthly stimulus checks of $250 to $300 per month for children. $300 per month for children under the age of 6 and $250 per month for children ages 6 through 17. That's currently passed for just 1 year, but they're probably going to extend that to the year 2025 or even further in this next stimulus package. So they got a lot on their agenda that they want to pass, and they'll need to do it within the next year and a half because when the next election comes around, if they lose even just one seat in the Senate, they'll no longer be in control and will no longer be able to pass anything they want. So this next stimulus package is kind of like Democrats are thinking, hey, back the truck up and put everything we can in there and let's get it done now, as well as the next stimulus package after that. As yes, Democrats are already talking about another package after that because the economy is not going to just recover within the next 30 days. So I'll keep you up to date on everything stimulus related, physical infrastructure related, and what's going on in our country. Don't miss an episode. We have new shows that come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to subscribe down below and join our family of subscribers. It's completely free to do so. Subscribe, click the button down below, and then click the bell icon that appears to all notifications to get reminder notifications when we go live. You can click this video here to watch the most recent stimulus check video. And this video is about the $1,500 extra bonus check that some seniors now qualify for. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.